Welcome to the AI Surge podcast, where we explore how AI is shaping industries and accelerating innovation. I'm your host, Serge Jubal, and today I'd like to welcome everybody to Jimmy Rios, who is the founder of Rios Business Advisors and Rios Business Funding, based in Chandler, Arizona. Hey, Jimmy, I'm really looking forward to a great conversation.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you for having me on your show.
No worries, man. Uh, let's start from the top. How did you kind of get to where you are? Like, what did that path look like, your experience, and what brought you to what you're doing now?
Well, I mean, it definitely wasn't a overnight success story, that's for sure. I mean, my path started over 20 years ago in the late 90s. As a student at Arizona State University, I came across a job where they said I wanted to be a branch manager trainee for this consumer finance company called Commercial Credit. And I was going to school for a totally different thing, but I jumped at the chance and really started learning about credit and everything about mortgages and lending and underwriting and all the different facets in that world. Did really well and came out of the gate. But I started seeing some things I didn't like in corporate as a young guy, maybe wanting to control things that I couldn't. And I said, well, if I can't do it here, then how am I going to do it? So I started my own business. And I said, well, I'm going to just jump in, and I didn't know what I didn't know, and so I made a lot of mistakes. I started with a property management company and gravitated into real estate and mortgages. Ultimately, 2008 came and almost swept me away, but I regrouped. Actually, had to go to sell cars for a while I was regrouping and getting back while I was maneuvering my business and still kept it afloat. And then I built a vertical with my credit business and started helping people with their credit. I wrote a book called Decoding the Mystery of Business Credit. And we started helping people with their businesses as well as their personal. So now I'm helping people with their mortgages, their real estate, their insurance. I'm building these verticals inside of an ecosystem of financial services. At the time, I mean, because I spoke Spanish, I really built my niche around the Latino community and doing what I was doing for years as a son of immigrant parents and helping them maneuver their life with, mortgages and insurance and taxes. And it was just an extension of what I had been doing since I was a kid. So it came easy in that regards. As I started learning more about all these different tools and things, it now became like, how do I help my people with more things that they need? They're not, just because they don't have credit doesn't make them bad. They're hard workers. There had to be a better way to be able to so expound on that. And so I started getting these visions, these ideas, these things. I said, well, what if we could do this? What if we could do that? And like, it just started changing the dynamics. And fast forward 25 years, and here I am. I got Real Business Funding, Real Business Advisors, Real Real Estate. We have Next Level Credit, Living Easy LLC, all these verticals that we built. And then we built a program called High Level to High Level. To your point about AI, I mean, this is taking it to the next level, right? It's getting to a point where we had to change gears, and the Rios 2.0, started coming about, and it was just very apropos that we started talking, because we're in the midst of this development of changing the guard, going from old school to new school. And for the kids, I got twin boys that are 17 and a daughter who's 19. Everything that I'm doing right now, they've already seen. They're like, oh, but for me, I just turned 50. This is all new to me. Like AI and all these tools on social media, all these things, over the last, I would say, probably 10 years has been something that I've adopted and really dove in. And it took me a while.
Well, that's a great story. In fact, as you were telling it, I realized how much we have in common. I just turned 50 as well, and the son of immigrant kids, you got to wear multiple hats, right? It's
Yes,
interpreter, advisor,
all of
educator,
those. Yeah.
totally.
Sometimes I didn't even want to answer my mom's call. I'm like, what do we got to do now? Like, that's how
Yeah,
it was.
exactly. Son, can you come with me, please?
Totally. I'm like, Mom, you
But
speak perfect English. You speak perfect English. Just ask them what you're asking me. Ask them.
They're more comfortable asking you, apparently.
Totally. In front of them. They're like, well, can you just tell them? I'm like, you're telling me, tell them.
So, Jimmy, tell me about, I guess, your two main verticals, I'm assuming, are Rio Business Advisors and Rio Business Funding. What are the two? What?
So the advisory firm arose from the fact that everybody, when they come, they have a problem, right? And so originally it was very transactional in nature because if you're a mortgage broker, then you're just brokering a mortgage loan. If you're an insurance broker, you're brokering insurance deals. And I noticed that with the way that I was doing things, it wasn't just one thing. It seemed like for many of them, like I would have to do their taxes. And then if you really want to protect yourself, you need this. And if you really, and so I started just by default having to quarterback things out. And many times it wasn't me doing everything. It was me finding the expert or advisor to do whatever needed to be done because it felt like we were putting a blueprint together of what they wanted. And it wasn't just one transaction, it was multiple transactions. Then they would tell 5 or 10 people in their family, and now I had 50 transactions, which is a great problem to have in the years prior to social media. But even now, having a good referral network is amazing. And so for me, the advisory bucket, what I call it, is having to have a concerted area where people would come to me and say, throw me some ideas and let's see how we're going to go about solving them. And then, so like the architect, now I would have my space to be able to spread out and say, okay, well, this is how we're going to do it. And then I have a big board and would start drawing things out and they loved it. They were like, well, let's go. And what happens is that by having that advisory channel, it became kind of my trust tank because from there, I built a lot of trust with my clients. Then we would start developing the how we're going to go about doing this and what's step one, step two, step three. So I talk a lot about steps and leveling up and going to the next level and all these things is because everything that was done was, I mean, men are very difficult in following directions. So if I'm able to lead you and step by step, you're going to be more prone to do it than if I just tell you, well, just go get a 660 credit score and come back, right? Well, that sounds good in theory, but if I knew how to get a 660 score, I wouldn't have a 540 credit score and I wouldn't be stuck in where I'm at. That's why I'm coming to you, right? So I really took that as kind of a cue that I needed to think differently in my development. I was making good money doing transactional work, but it always felt like okay, I would do a loan for this guy, and then 6 months later, he's coming back with more problems. He still needed more money. No, nothing was ever solved. You weren't really helping him. It was like all you were doing, giving him a band aid because there was no understanding on how to best use those funds. They would go and blow it. So now what I did was I developed an educational side, you know, with the high level to high level, a way to accelerate and pay off debt in a much quicker way, a way to be able to teach and show them how they could use debt in a good way and not a bad way and be able to grow their businesses and get all the things that they want. So it morphed into bigger and better things for my clients.
So, when you speak about eye level to high level, so what does that look like? Is that how do you communicate that? Is that just a philosophy, or is that
Yeah,
a model to
that's a
follow?
great question. That's a great question. So a little bit over 2 years ago, I was working I was working with a client out of California that he needed big money financing. And, you know, as I was developing this process I met a gentleman by the name of Brian Fontenot out of Texas and we hit it off. And when we started brainstorming and talking about how we were going to get this guy's deal done, and he owned a hedge fund and doing alternative investments out of Texas. And I asked him out of the blue, I said, well, you know, you're doing it at the high level. What if we could take this concept and bring it to the high level and help people that, you know, needed 25, 30, 50,000 that then we could then turn around and help them get 4 or 500,000 from the profits that were being made in the same way you're doing it at the high level. Can we do that? And he's like, well, I mean, you know, I've never really been asked that. Almost everybody that I work with are accredited and, you know, they're up here, but I guess we could test it and see what happens. So all I needed was one. because I tried going this route with many hedge fund manager. Everybody would close the door on me because I'm the little guy. Like, we don't lend in those parameters. We only lend high up. And all I needed was one person to believe in me. And Brian was it. And Brian opened the door, and we started here in Maricopa, Arizona with local businesses, just testing theory, testing how this was going to work. And ultimately the idea was, look, if you can borrow X amount and we take a fraction of that money, we securitize it and protect it, put it to work, and start compounding that on a daily instead of just thinking in the AP APR mode, the way traditional financing is done. We start giving these people returns on a daily over 30 days or 20 days or whatever. How much more could we return on that money to pay off the debt? And how fast could we do that? And we started testing it. And so this money, 10, 15, 20,000 would turn into 200,000 and 100,000. Now we would go back and pay off the debt. And now you have a surplus of money to be able to do what? Lower the barriers of entry for what? Oh, well, I need more employees. I need marketing. I need, to grow. Whatever the barriers of entry usually are when you're starting a business or in the midst of a business, you say, well, I don't have the money. But even when you get the money, now the barrier of entry is, or the burden is the debt, too much debt, right? So what if we took all those things off your plate so that you could focus 100% on producing, on doing the things you need to do with your business? We built a third arm of income that comes in as a sweeper and helps you stabilize, grow, do all the things you want to do with a guide, with a mentor, with an advisor who's leading the way, like a project manager does when they're building a house, right? The house, if I just gave you a blueprint and you've never built a house, are you going to be able to build that house properly? No. And if you just go to Home Depot and buy a bunch of sticks and glue and try to build a house, it's not going to last. So why do we try to do that ourselves with our businesses? And we do. Because we're good mechanics. Does that make you a good entrepreneur in the mechanical space? No, you probably can fix cars and turn wrenches, but that doesn't mean you know how to do marketing and bookkeeping, accounting, and manage your debt, all the parameters. So why doesn't nobody talk about that when 95% of the businesses in America are small businesses?
Yeah, it's so funny you mention that because you're right. A lot of times it's small businesses are they're operations people, right? They know how to do something, but the business skill set is so foreign and so different.
And many of them, if you tell them, well, just go to school. Well, school teaches you some things, but a lot of what I've learned has been application in process over time, making a lot of mistakes, asking for a lot of help, getting advisors in other areas to advise me. And that took time, effort, and money. I've had a lot of losses. I'll tell you. And when I did this, I said, what if I could build something that could help people and maybe curtail the time frame it takes for them to learn so that they feel confident and comfortable coming to a source that has done it for them and can do it for them. And maybe they want to participate, they can, but let's try to find that. And that's really where my mind went in building this out.
Yeah, totally. And it's funny you mentioned that because they say success is like climbing a mountain, right? So the peaks and valleys, you'll go up and then you'll go down and you'll learn something along the way. But what are some of the lessons you learned as you're working in different industries and overcoming different challenges? Is there something that stuck with you?
Yeah, man. The biggest one is check your ego at the door. I don't care how much time you've had in business. If you don't check your ego at the door, you're gonna get left behind and something's gonna happen. You're gonna lose. You need to learn how to humble yourself to have success.
So with that, Jimmy, what would you say you're most proud of? You've got quite a journey. You've got multiple verticals now. You're helping your community. Is there one thing that you say, "Hey, I'm so happy that we accomplished this or I did this"?
The easiest thing to have done in this trajectory was to have quit and go back to corporate. Don't get me wrong, I went back to corporate probably 6 or 7 times, but I didn't quit on my business model. I didn't quit on my business. I had to maybe work nights, weekends. I had to give up when I worked in the car business. I was working, crazy hours in the car business, but fine tuning my business model while I was at the dealership or wherever, I was still working on my business, and it was just a matter of time. So I never gave up on my dream on account of needing to to pay the bills. I had 3 small kids that needed, to be cared for. So I had to find a way to make money, but I never just quit. The easy thing is to give up and say, okay, I'm checked out. It's 5 o'clock. I'm gonna go sleep, go watch Netflix or whatever. No, man, I was writing books, I was reading, I was listening to podcasts, I was in the trenches, asking questions, remodeling my model, right? Redoing my skit, everything that I had built, I would break down and start over and figure it out. And my wife, who I just had our 10-year anniversary, she was like, Jimmy, can't you just pick one thing? And I said, you don't understand. I have this vision. Like, I have a lot of things that I got to do. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but it's going to happen. It's going to get there. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, I even needed my own mentor, advisor, someone to help me put all those ideas into something that could work. Like we talk about SOPs, right? And being able to have procedures and tactical ways of being able to do processes, all these things. I didn't know how to put all that together inside so that if I'm not there, who can do it for me? If I'm in Colombia, where my parents are from, how can my business keep working? Because that's what a lot of entrepreneurs don't do. They don't have these procedures in place to be able to hand off and say, okay, how do you train others to do what I'm doing? Because they want to control everything. I had to learn how to let go a little bit, delegate, and it's blown up for me. And that was from learning these things.
So let's talk about those systems. Is the systems standard operating procedures or training?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha.
Tech stacks, working with different CRMs, automation, so many different things. I mean, we had a meeting this morning with another group that was showing us, yeah, we work with QuickBooks. That's one thing, but what if you can have a dashboard that could show you all these crazy projections and budget, all these different things that high level companies use that the eye level needs, and could use, but they didn't even know that it existed in their realm, right? It's just amazing. I'm learning as I'm going from these people that are showing me, well, I think you can use this. And that's helping me become a better advisor for regular Joes, right? For regular high level people that are doing it old school, that are maybe haven't, not because they don't want to, they haven't been introduced, they don't feel comfortable. No different than me when AI and ChatGPT, all these things started popping up. I was kind of like, here's another thing I'm gonna try to jump into and learn, and I'm gonna mess it up. So fear crept in, and I'm like, well, you know what? At some point, I got rid of that fear, and I said, let's go, and I started adopting it to the point where they're starting to clone my voice. We're doing social media. They were doing. I tested a system yesterday um, to ask questions for like somebody wants to do a loan, and I tested it out. I'm like, I was probably the worst client for this AI system, but I wanted to see if I could break it because I wanted to test humans have emotions and they might not always answer correctly. With this thing, I was trying to be the worst client ever, and it was doing it. It was doing what it was supposed to do, and it was answering the questions. It was calm, it was collected, it was sharp. I loved it. I was like, man, that's difficult to train. I've been around training others for a long time, and I've broken to the point of making people cry in training because of the way that I come out and break them. And it's not because I'm trying to be say the word. I'm trying to see at what level I can test them to see what their resolve is and how they pivot to adversity. And if you can train an AI to do that and give the answers based on my knowledge base on all these things that I train it to do. My gosh, it's like this is like manna from heaven. I'm like, this is unbelievable. And that's how I feel right now with everything that's happening. People say, well, are you scared of AI taking over the world? I said, look, man, 20 years ago when Netflix came out and Uber and all these things were happening, everybody was so used to going to Blockbuster, renting a couple videos, and then, we start getting these DVDs in the mail, and then, now we stream everything, right? We don't have all those things. I used to have CD players with tons of CDs in my car, right? Look, trying to funnel through and find the song or the CD that I recorded my music on or whatever. We don't have to go through all that anymore. It's amazing. But in a short period of time, we're seeing it even evolve even faster with AI. And if you embrace it, it can do wonders for your business.
So, Jimmy, would you say that AI automation technology has freed up, made you more efficient so you can spend time on what really matters is strategy and interaction and
Not only
customers?
that, man, but I really took on getting in shape and getting time to start treating myself to a better life.
Oh, good
And
for you.
they say health is wealth. Well, I'm running my first 5K on the 15th, and then I register for the Pat Tillman run, which is even longer. And I'm going to run a marathon because eventually that's where this is going to lead me. But you know what's cool? My trainer is ChatGPT. I have a band that tracks my heart rate and all these metrics, and I take pictures of it and I upload it, and I tell the trainer every day, read my Hume data and give me my training session for today for running, and reads my glucose levels, all these things, and it's helping me. Helped me cut 3 minutes off my mile. I mean, for somebody who hasn't ran in 20 years, I used to be a competitive soccer player. Junior college, won 2 state championships, and was very fit. But when I started working, I gave all that up and focused on my work. Well, fast forward to 50 years old, and this technology is getting me back in shape. It reads my macros, carbs, sets up my diets so I know what to cook when I go out. I just came back from Colombia for 2 weeks, and I would ask it, "I'm over here. What should I eat?" And it gives me the menu and takes from that, extracts what I should eat based on my macros. That was amazing. I was like, "This is the best thing in the world." That's the type of stuff that it's doing in other things outside of work.
So that's amazing. It's making your life better, which is really cool.
Which is making me a better boss. It's making me be a better example. I have a Facebook group called Vision to Victory, and my followers see what I'm putting up there because I'm showing them, look, you can have a vision and you can get there, but you got to put in the work. And many times you don't know how. Let's find the answers. Let's figure out how to do it. And these are some of the things, my biggest thing was I don't have time. Well, we found time. Oh, I don't know how to do it. Well, we know how to do it now. Like it was all these little excuses that with automation, with AI, with technology, I've been able to overcome. And to the point where I even got my running shoes, my orthotics, all these little tools to make me a better runner, right? Well, if we can do it in a hobby of getting in shape, what else can we do with our health, with our marriages, with our kids, with being better fathers, husbands, whatever, It's endless what it can do.
Well, from one soccer guy to another, I play in a men's league, and one of my
Yeah,
teammates, as we get older, has a hamstring issue, and that's how he got his rehab platform was inputting it into ChatGPT. He goes and input his activities, his age, his injury, how injury
right.
prone he is, and yeah, save him a trip to the chiropractor. And he goes, "It's working." So as well.
It's amazing. It's amazing. I
So,
track
Jim,
everything daily. I input everything, and it's amazing.
so what would you say, Jimmy? You said you originally had maybe you were a little hesitant to adopt technology, especially on the AI side. What made you change your mind?
I think it was my kids. I think getting kind of my children really seeing how they were adopting it and then how it was all around me. But I felt like they had that saying, that fear of missing out, FOMO, right? I felt like I was getting left behind, like something was missing. And I said, no, I can't. I can't let fear overtake, I gotta learn. I gotta figure this out. I gotta take the time and get in the trenches, just like I did with everything else that I've done up to this point. It's getting comfortable in the uncomfortable. And I had to do that. I had to go in the uncomfortable and like learning a new language almost. Now I feel like I can understand it. I can carry on conversations with others and know more, but at least I understand some of the lingo and what they're doing, and it's good. It's good because I needed it. My business needed it, and it was just a matter of time. And it was going to cost me. It was going to cost me one way or the other. And it's cost me too much in the past, making mistakes. This one, I was like, what's in my control? What can I control? And I can control being able to learn. It's just a matter of doing it.
So, Jimmy, what would you say? of the growth you've had, how do you define like, what metrics are you focused on, tracking, improving? Is it sales? Is it client acquisition? Is it profit? Or do you focus on one single one, or is it a bundle?
No, no, there's different areas, but I think having been in sales for so long and seeing where a lot of the problems were, I really started tracking. Like, I had a lot of problems for many years with marketing, with being able to track where my funnels and the people where they were coming from and how and the conversion ratios for different areas of that. So I started tracking that, but then I started saying, okay, if this lead comes in, how are we handling it? And let's say I I I made the call and I didn't get anybody. What about the follow-up? And how many times are we calling or communicating to be able to actually get them on the phone? And then what happens? Right? Because if you're old school like me, you would get lists and you go through calls and then you'd have probably all these ones that you started with at 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning are way back here and you're going for the bottom hanging fruit. Whoever you can get on the phone, that's who you're talking to, that's who you're selling. But what happens to the 20, 30, 40, 50 calls you made, in the last 8 hours? When do you go back to those? And when do you how do we track that? How do we get more efficient because that's very daunting in sales is that repetition and we wasted a lot of leads and time and manpower because we weren't working efficiently. So that was one of the things I really wanted to hone in on was working with automation, working with our sales team to be more efficient and better. So now our AI takes the brunt of that work so that they set up the appointment. The AI does that. And then when my regular Joe has an appointment to talk to a person, now he's ready, right? Like they got a lot of the questions have been answered by AI. We've kind of, sifted through the junk and got the ones that really wanted this. How much time did I just save? Manpower, time, money by using AI in that fashion to where now my sharpshooters, my closers, my people that are really talking to these people are solving problems, building the blueprints, doing the things that we need to do, right? Really getting to the gusto of what it is, right? So it's more fructiferous. We're doing more. Is like more. You can feel the energy. Like they love to come to work because they know that AI is working and getting them leads that are actually working, and that's amazing.
So that's on the great side, but, with every business, it has some things that are going well and some things that, maybe that are challenging. If you could solve one major challenge today, what would it be?
I think for me and my company at this point, it's we have an influx of too many systems, too many things, and we've made a lot of mistakes in trying to we've tried so many different things that haven't worked, and it's kind of like sifting through all the junk. Go and the next thing you know, you got 10, 15 subscriptions for different things and trying to make ends of everything and what works, what doesn't. That's been very difficult for us. And I think for the regular Joes out there that are listening, I think even more so where you need advice and guidance because, like for us, we spent a lot of money over the years trying to fine tune this monster, um, and I think it could have been done better. Now looking back, but again, a lot of this is hindsight, and you got to go through the trenches to figure it out. But maybe doing better due diligence, better research, right? Going and using these tools to do comparison and get better insights into those systems so that we're making better choices and better decisions.
So what would you say, given the different verticals you've developed, and even I saw you have a podcast, what do you typically talk about on that podcast?
So on the podcast, we named it High Level to High Level, and the 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 gist of it is we have so many people that have to tell their story. We need to hear it from others on what made them successful, what pitfalls they went through, what were the things that got them to where they're at. And not everybody is there yet. They're in the process. I had a couple 17-year-old kids who started a detail business and they became experts in ceramic coating and learned the science behind all the chemicals that go into these things so that they could be able to recommend the proper solutions and going about, you know, these people were paying big money, us included, my car included, and I'm trusting 17-year-olds to do this, and they did an amazing job, and they educated me in that world, and I was like, "How did you guys? How?" They're like, "YouTube." I'm like, "What? You guys learned this?" Well, they learned it from watching their dad and being in the seeing how he was doing things, but ultimately taking the foundation and learning from that and then going and working but it's just amazing, you know. So getting those types of stories out and having others partake in successes and failures and being able to tell our stories. I think there's a lot of people at the high level that have different high levels that they need to expand on and that's why I felt that others needed to tell their story and you know and I'd love to have you on the show so we can hear your side. You've heard mine. I'd love to eventually get you on and let's talk about you.
Hey, man, sounds great. And God, I tell you, at 17, I wasn't
I
nearly
wasn't in
as
that.
ambitious as
Yeah.
these kids.
Yeah, it's amazing. And when you watch these kids on the show, they're poised, their answers, it was like almost like they had practiced it. I was off the cuff like this, and they were years of beyond, like, just the way they answered everything. I would have been like at 17. There's no way. And I admire these kids. They get a lot of crap in social media, and you know the generation is lazy and this and that. They're misunderstood is what it is, but there's a lot of good out there.
So, Jimmy, for those who'd like to find out more about you and your company and the services you provide, where should they reach out to?
Definitely, please subscribe on my YouTube channel at Rios Business Funding. We put all everything out there that we're doing, our podcasts, our instructional videos, a lot of the things that I talk about. But we have Rios Business Funding are the taglines for a lot of the social media sites, riosbusinessfunding.com, riosbusinessadvisors.com. And obviously, we're always reading and we get all the text people put through those channels. So we're very quick on responding and getting to people when they want to set up an appointment. We'll give them our calendar. Many times they're going to talk to one of our reps or myself included. I'm in the trenches every day having calls and talks with people, and I love it because I mean I don't believe in hierarchy. I mean, yeah, I'm the CEO in the acronyms, but I'm in the trenches helping people every day, and that's really where I get a lot of my passion is the law of reciprocity and helping others get to better stages in their life because I've been through a lot and I've suffered and I know it can be done. If I can do it, you can do it.
So, Jimmy, before we wrap up, in the next 6 or 12 months, where do you want to be? Do you want to keep growing what you're doing now? Are you thinking of different verticals or kind of what are you envisioning?
Well, my brother, I have a twin brother, and Johnny built a Facebook group with over 26,000 expatriates that are subscribed it's called Gringo Paisa in Americans in Medellin, Colombia. And Medellin or the country doesn't have they have the ability to fund and do the business and mortgages, but they don't, right? And so it's very difficult for expatriates to go and invest in that country. As beautiful as it is, they don't have the resources. So we're developing those channels right now as we speak. And it'll be a beautiful thing to be able to expand. If we could do it in Colombia, and we can do it in Mexico, we can do it in Costa Rica, Argentina, and different places. And so ultimately, yeah, we've expanded our reach nationwide, you know, for what we're doing. But now we're starting to break the barriers and go into other countries and see how we can really plant our flag there. So I really I'm impassioned to see what we can do in Colombia and then use that as our model for other countries. And everything that we're doing is about empowering people and helping them get to the next level. So I hope that we can do that. Obviously, we start with our home front and then take it on and duplicate it, and that's what we're at right now.
Okay, well, let's support Jimmy and his great cause in terms of supporting small businesses and entrepreneurs. Like, what's more noble than that? But Jimmy can be found at riosbusinessadvisors.com. And there you'll see a list of services, including financial advisory, wealth advisory, business lending, and even support for buying and selling a business. That's.
Definitely.
He's got a Facebook, YouTube, and
It's a very well put together system that we've developed over many years, and whatever we can do to help. Just the first thing I always tell people is like, if you don't ask for help, you're not gonna get help. So, reach out and we'll see what we can do for you.
great. And Jimmy, just for everybody's benefit, on Jimmy's site, you'll see a Facebook and Instagram, YouTube link, as well as book a meeting link as well. So no excuse not to get a hold of Jimmy and his team. But Jimmy, this is great. I really appreciate the time today and you sharing your expertise.
It's been a pleasure, man. I'll send you my Calendly link so we can start scheduling you for our podcast and, tell your story and help more people. And thanks for giving me this platform to be able to express myself, let others know what we're doing and how we can help them.
Excellent. Well, I'd like to thank everybody for joining us on the AI Surge podcast, where we explore how AI is shaping industries and accelerating innovation. I'm your host, Sergio Bull, and today I'd like to thank Jimmy Rios, who is the founder of Rios Business Advisors and Rios Business Funding, based in Chandler, Arizona. Again, Jimmy, thank you so much, and we'll share this on YouTube in a little while. So I'm looking forward to reconnecting.
Perfect. Thanks, Serge. Appreciate you.